How's it going, everybody? Chuck Holton here. I'm driving from northern Israel back to Jerusalem tonight, and it's going to be pretty late by the time I get back there, so I thought if I was going to do a live, I better do it now. And I've been telling Oscar here, this is Oscar de la Blue Ramirez.
Nice to meet you, everybody.
My buddy. He's a Mexican journalist extraordinaire. If you don't follow him on YouTube, you really should. Just go to Oscar Blue Ramirez on YouTube, and you can find him there. We've been traveling around the northern part of the country for the last couple of days. The idea was to kind of gauge the seriousness of the situation up there with Hezbollah. Now, there have been pretty steady upticks in the number of rockets and missiles and stuff coming in, but we've kind of gotten to the point where rockets and missiles coming into the north isn't news anymore, because it's just become the ordinary, not the out of the ordinary. And so we wanted to go up there and kind of shine a light on it and show you what the people who are living up there, because they've evacuated 60,000 people from the north, but there are still hundreds of thousands who stayed. They evacuated everybody that's basically within, I think, 5 kilometers of the border. And so if you're 6 kilometers from the border, well, you're out of luck. You don't get a stipend. You don't get put up in a hotel. You can leave if you want to, but you're going to have to foot the bill. The hardest thing for most people about leaving, though, was having to give up their jobs and their kids' schooling and things like that. A lot of the hotels where these people went have tried to put together school for their kids in the hotel with varying degrees of success. But what do you do about the fact that your business is closed down? If you're a hairdresser or a plumber or an electrician up in the north and there's just nobody up there, well, you're just out of luck. You're just out of business. And so this is COVID on steroids for the people up there. They just were starting to recover from COVID when this war happened, and so now a lot of them are just out of business. So we went to Jish. I like going there because it's a great spot from which to gauge the level of intensity of the conflict. The areas around Jish get hit a lot, but Jish itself really does not get hit very much because it's a partially Arab town, and I guess there's an unspoken agreement with Hezbollah that they won't blow up an Arab community. I think it might be. No, I'm not speeding. So you can go to Jish and you can hear the explosions on a regular basis to the east and west. You can hear the outgoing fire of the, counter-fire batteries inside Israel, and you can kind of see what's going on. Plus, we've created some good relationships up there. We've got some friends and a place to stay, and there's this wonderful Maronite lady named Naveen who tries to kill me with food every time I go up there. You right? Am I right, Oscar?
She makes a lot of food. I cannot complain about it. By the way, she makes really good food, and so they're beautiful. The way of taking care of people into their homes is one of the things that I was really envy about it, because in Latin America it's completely different, the culture, and they were completely beautiful to take us in. They treat us really well. Really nice people, really beautiful people. The food was really good, although we cannot, as human beings in the continent of America, we cannot eat that much.
Yeah, I mean, really, they would give each of us enough food to feed a family of 4 or 5 and then act like they were hurt that you didn't finish everything that they gave you. I mean, it's just like, Naveen, you're trying to kill me. Like, I can't eat this much food. But anyway, it's very good too. It's delicious.
No, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So, but that's just their way. That's just their culture. It's kind of the old Arab Bedouin culture. And it goes all the way back to, like, in the Bible, in the story about Lot in Sodom and Gomorrah. Takes people in. The men of the city come and threaten the people that he's taken in. And Lot cannot let those men be brutalized by the mob outside, to the point where he even offers his daughter to the mob rather than these men. It's kind of a horrific story, but it just illustrates the level of seriousness with which the people in this culture take the concept of hospitality. They're just super nice people. So anyway, we enjoyed that, and then got some good interviews today. And I have to say, after we left there, I want to start from what we just did and work my way backwards, back to where we were in Jish. So we're just now coming from Kiryat Shimona. Kiryat Shimona, am I still going straight here? I think it's good. Kiryat Shimona is arguably the most dangerous town in Israel right now, because it is bearing the brunt of the missiles and rockets and drones that are being thrown at Israel. Even if those missiles and rockets and drones don't actually strike inside Kiryat Shimona, a lot of the ones that are fired go over that town, and so that town gets an inordinate number of alerts, rocket, where the sirens go off and everybody has to run for the shelter and everything. And that's why there's almost nobody there. And we found it to be just a ghost town. It's full of cats, but that's about it. I even saw, right as we were leaving, we saw a coyote, like an actual coyote, running around in the city, because when all the people leave, nature takes back over very quickly. Nature takes it over. So if you're writing comments and questions, I appreciate that. Please hit the like button as well while you're doing that, and subscribe to the channel. But I am driving, so I'm not going to be reading the comments, but maybe Oscar can read them later and tell me if there's anything important on there, if he wants, but he doesn't want to. So we just came from Kiryat Shimona. We stayed there for a couple hours. There were, I don't know, 3 or 4, 5 alerts while we were there, where the sirens go off and you have to run for cover. It turned out they were all, I think they were all drones, not artillery. Yeah, I'm not this car. They were drones and not artillery. So the drone went over, the siren shut off, and that was it. No big explosions or anything. The only big booms we heard were the counter battery fire that was outgoing from a position near where we were. So there was a IDF artillery unit somewhere nearby, and it was returning fire on the Hezbollah fighters in Lebanon. So it's just this tit for tat, back and forth, rockets, missiles, drones, and artillery, kind of constant. So you can imagine why you wouldn't want to live there right now or have your kids there in school. The only things that are open in that city that used to have more than 30,000 people are like 3 gas stations and 1 falafel shop. That's it. That's all there is. So people were coming and going. We could see some people who had come in from outside of town, maybe to check on their plants or their cat or something, and then turn around and leave again. But that was about all we found. Now, before we went to Kiryat Shimona, we were in Malkia. Malkia is to the east of Kiryat Shimona. It's a kibbutz right on the border, and I mean right on the border, bit across the border from that kibbutz, and bit across it. You could throw an apple across the border pretty easily. There were lots of apples on the ground, and it's really a sad story because Malkia has just hundreds of acres of the most beautiful apple orchards you've ever seen. Absolutely loaded down with gorgeous, perfect apples, and there's nobody there to pick them. So they're just rotting. They're just falling off the tree and rotting. And they're trying to pick some of them, as many as they can, but they only have like 4 people that are working there to do that, and it's just not possible. They just can't really harvest much. It was the same way the last time I was there with cherries, and you know, they're just losing so much of their harvest this year. They're also losing livestock because they have, I think, a couple hundred cows, and the cows are dropping calves, but they normally would be brought into the barn to do that, but instead they're just wandering around in the fields. And I used to raise cows, and that's a bad idea. Like, you don't want your cow dropping its calf just out in the field somewhere, because the coyotes can get it. The calf could, you know, fall in a hole. I had a cow one time that the cow tried to give birth out in the field in the middle of winter, fell in a ditch upside down, couldn't turn over, ended up dying of exposure out there. I mean, it was a mess. It was an absolute mess. So they have to go around now, the few people that are left in Malkia, and look for baby calves that have been dropped out in the field somewhere overnight, and then pick them up, bring them back in. They're all dehydrated. It's hot, summertime, and they have to kind of nurse them back to health. And so they had, how many cows they have? Like 10, 15 cows?
Just less than that.
It's, I don't know, 7 or 8 cows maybe.
Horses.
And a couple of, well, there was more horses over on the other side too. So yeah, we got to kind of feed the animals and see how they're trying to just survive until this thing is over. There were several places on the kibbutz that were burned up because of rockets landing on the kibbutz itself. And they said that, you know, when these guys are working every day, they're working 15 hours a day out in the fields, just trying to salvage what they can. And I said, well, what do you do when the rockets come in? He said, we pray. He said, it's all we can do. You know, it's like there's no bunker to get in. There's no shelter. If there's a ditch nearby, I'll jump off the tractor and go lay down in the ditch or something. But normally I just kind of say a prayer and keep on rolling. Just hope it's not my day. And kind of sad, but a very good view of the conflict from there. From, you know, he said from the seat of his tractor, he watches inside Lebanon. He can see the missiles taking off from their firing positions on a just about daily basis.
That we talked to them, there were like possibly 7 or 8 guys. The commander was in his 25, 26 years old, more mature, really quiet, really serious. But the other young kids, they were in their teens. They were 19, 20, really mature young kids, but with the purpose to defend their land, all of them. But ultimately, at the end of the day, you ask them, well, you know, what do you think about this? And all of them, they say, we want this to end, we want peace.
A lot of them had already been fighting in Gaza.
Yeah, the tanker that I was talking to was fighting in Gaza.
He was in Gaza too?
Yes, yes.
Yeah, so a lot of them had already been in Gaza. So they're combat proven. These guys know what to expect. And they're not looking forward to going into Lebanon. but they're certainly not afraid to go into Lebanon, and they're ready to do it to safeguard their country. And a lot of them kind of feel like, well, the sooner we get this knocked out, the better. But no, I mean, obviously I couldn't disclose it if they had any plans to anyway. And I don't know, because I wouldn't ask them to share that stuff if they did know. So anyway, it was a fruitful, productive day. Before that, we were in Jish. We interviewed Shadi Khalul again, specifically about, now this is very interesting, and I've mentioned it on a couple of lives now, that Hezbollah is likely being funded partially by American tax dollars. Now, how does that work? Well, the Lebanese army, which is separate from Hezbollah, much weaker than Hezbollah, but is supposedly in control of the country, receives about $300 million a year from the United States in order to assist them in safeguarding Lebanon and keeping the peace up there. The problem is the Lebanese army is about half staffed by guys who moonlight for Hezbollah. And so that $300 million that we send in terms of money and military equipment and, night vision and who knows what else, a lot of that is being diverted, most likely, to help Hezbollah with their preparation to attack Israel. And so, yet again, how the United States is so good at spending money wantonly, unwisely. How do I set my... They are spending money just like we did in Afghanistan, just like we are doing in Afghanistan. The United States is still sending something like $40 million a week to Afghanistan, to the Taliban. I mean, what genius thought, I know, it wasn't enough that we left them $86 billion worth of military hardware back in 2021. Let's go ahead and send them a stipend of $40 million a week on an airplane filled with cash, and just to keep them placated, just to keep them happy. This is mind-bendingly stupid, but it doesn't hold a candle. 40 million a week. Well, I guess it would hold a candle to what we're spending. It turns out that if you add up what the United States is sending to the Lebanese army, and then what the United States part of the UN's budget is in Lebanon through the UN forces in Lebanon, UNIFIL, it's over $1 billion a year. And people are complaining about what we're doing in Ukraine. We're actually partially funding the world's most powerful non-state terror network. Hands down, that's the dumbest thing America's doing right now. Well, yeah, it probably is.
And the border.
Let's just say the competition is fierce for the stupidest thing that America is doing right now. Yeah. Competition is awful fierce for the dumbest thing we're doing. You got immigration, you got the Planned Parenthood baby deletion mobile that's driving around the streets of Chicago right now, handing out free baby deletion. Thank you, one tired mama. I mean, that's horrific right there. That is just terrible. You've got the embarrassment that is, San Francisco, Seattle, Detroit, Baltimore, Chicago, New York, and I could go on and on. There's a lot of dumb things America's doing, let's put it that way. But funding Hezbollah to the tune of hundreds of millions of dollars a year, probably not the smartest thing we've ever thought of. And, you know, if a couple of journalists fumbling their way around northern Israel can figure this out, I would venture to say that the State Department could figure it out if they put their mind to it. So, I wanted to give you an update on what's going on in Gaza. There's still quite a bit of fighting going on in Gaza, and the IDF units that are involved have gotten pretty good at now, instead of going in and taking and holding territory, which just makes them long-term targets in the region for whatever Hamas fighters are left, they've gotten good at coming and going. So they'll pop in, do a mission, pop back out. They, on one of those missions this morning or yesterday, last night, they managed to recover the bodies of 6 of the hostages that were taken on October 7th. It appears that these were 6 older people who were likely killed on October 7th, and their remains were dragged into Gaza to use as bargaining chips. So while on one hand the Israelis are negotiating for a ceasefire, not with Hamas, but with the United States, as if it was the U.S. that we were fighting instead of Hamas. On one hand, they're negotiating for this ceasefire. On the other hand, they're reducing the bargaining chips that Hamas has to use to get a ceasefire day by day. Israel is destroying their weapons, destroying their tunnel networks, killing the terrorists, and is, yes, bringing home the hostages. Even if these 6 were not among the living, it is still, they were still bargaining chips. And so we can be grateful in some sense that the families of those 6 will have some closure now, and sad at the same time we can mourn with them that, you know, that fact that they got back their families who were, their family members who were, you know, killed on October 7th. So we should say a prayer for them. Now, you know, as I mentioned, I can't really read the comments right now because I'm driving and I'm trying to not get us killed. It would make Oscar's wife very angry with me if I smash the car into something. So I'm going to try not to do that. And so I'm sure she'll be very grateful. Now, Oscar, what was your big takeaway from what we saw today? I'd like to hear from you.
We visited a small community that is a kibbutz, I think so.
Yeah, Malkia.
Malkia. We met with this great man that he just basically let us in.
Eitan Oren.
Eitan. We met with the young studs of the IDF, which we, in the first trip, we met with them. I talked to them, and all of them, they seemed that they, you know, the first time that I talked to them was back in November of 2023. The hype was different. You know, the energy was different because it was just recently happening on October 7th. So the energy was completely different. Now is almost 1 year after this war, and the mentality, it is just like calm. They know that they're getting attacked consistently. These towns like Jish, like Malkia, like we were just, you know, Kiryat Shimona, there was 3 alerts, consistently 3 alerts and 4 missiles coming in, or it was drones, or, you know, Chuck knows more exactly, drones, more exactly what they were coming in. So my take is, first and foremost, this deal with Anthony Blinken is a complete insult to the Israeli people. It's a complete insult. What the United States of America, the collateral damage that this Biden administration has done, not only through the wars, to what they're doing to their own country, to the United States of America, that is lost. Chuck, I don't mean to just insult your country, but it's lost, completely lost right now.
Tell us how you really feel, Oscar.
Oh my God, I love the United States of America. My dream was, when I was a young kid, to be a Marine. I didn't get the opportunity to do that because I was born in Mexico. But, you know, I love the United States of America. For me to see these young kids right now yelling from the river to the sea, Palestine will be free. And we talked to a lot of Israel people, and they say, what are you doing? You want to eliminate us. And not only just because they think that Israel, these young kids, they think that Israel is just Jews or Jewish people. And it is not like that.
That's
There's
true.
Israel Christians, Maronites, you know, all types of
20% are Muslims.
And, you know, it's incredible, you know, so you're eliminating a whole country. And that's the horrible thing about it, that they're supporting terrorist organizations. And in Mexico, you have a progressive, mercenary leftist agenda. We have a communist president who is, the new president is a woman. She is a Jewish woman. Well, she's a communist. And the problem with that is that, you know, in Mexico, you have a gigantic Israel community. Gigantic Israel community, gigantic Jewish community.
Yeah, we actually ran into some Mexican Jews in Tiberias a couple days ago.
Yeah. So somebody saying, put on the seatbelt. I have been wearing the seatbelt the whole day. I apologize. I have this right now. So that's my great justification right now for not wearing it.
I'm known for being a very careful and slow grandma driver.
Yeah, Mad Max.
And so, Grandma Mad Max.
So what I believe, lastly, Chuck, I don't want to be the, you know,
right
here on the screen. You know, what I believe it is that, you know, in Mexico, you have this pro-Palestine also agenda. And what I have been doing, and a lot of journalists have been doing, it is labeling these people also, because we're getting attacked. Us Christians, us that we believe in Jesus, us that we are conservatives, or whatever you want to call it, we are under attack. That is clearly they want to completely, you know, eliminate who we are. And sadly, that is the way it is. And we need to just defend ourselves. And what I have done is to say, you support Hamas and you support Hezbollah, you're actually supporting the cartels. It's actually a copy paste of what you're doing.
It is very similar to cartels, what is happening over here with Hezbollah. And actually, I think there's some overlap between the cartels and Hezbollah in Latin America.
Yes.
Because Hezbollah has a heavy presence in Venezuela, down in the tri-state area, down in Uruguay, Paraguay, Argentina, that area down there. With their known training camps and things like that. Now Colombia has a leftist president who is going to lean more toward Maduro, Chavista, you know, kind of politics. And so there are grave threats, even in the Western Hemisphere, from the likes of Hezbollah, who are joining together with those leftists. And so it's not that surprising to see leftists in the United States supporting them as well. There's a gigantic sign over there that says, "Bring them home now," on the side of a building. That's cool. So I wanted to just mention, we just drove by an area outside of Tel Aviv where there was a shooting the other day because there's a Arab part of the Samaria, West Bank area that's very close to the road here. And I've stopped there and gotten falafel a couple of times. But apparently, if you go a little further, you get into an A zone. And there was a guy from Tel Aviv who went in there to buy vegetables or something and got shot. And it's just right near this, 4-lane highway, 4 lanes each direction, that travels from the north down to Tel Aviv and then over to Jerusalem. So we're on our way to Jerusalem. Back there, I've got a bunch of work to do there with CBN tomorrow. So be watching CBN News for an update on the hostages and on the fighting in the north, the fighting in the south, the ceasefire, and everything else. We'll be doing a package on the 700 Club tomorrow morning. Also, you can find Oscar Blue Ramirez on Real America's Voice News with David Brody, our good friend David Brody, who's also on CBN. And so there's a little overlap there. And you can find Oscar on his YouTube channel, Oscar Blue Ramirez on YouTube. So I highly recommend you go check him out. He's doing a lot of lives, putting up a lot of kind of little packages and footage that I don't get a chance to put up because I'm driving him around all the time. So I'm driving Miss Daisy while Miss Daisy's over there editing these really nice videos together. He puts up over on his channel, but he doesn't let me put up on my channel. Jeez. I see how it is.
By the way, to all the audience, I just want to say this man does everything. So just does everything. He's completely amazing, and I want to say to
drives, folds your laundry,
thank you.
Does the dishes.
I had the opportunity the other day. Chuck took me to the Dead Sea, and we made a joke, and that is a reality. You don't see many Mexicans bathing and floating in the Dead Sea, and it was completely amazing. An experience that I want to tell you is that if you go to the Dead Sea, and if you get yourself in the Dead Sea, you know, don't ever come back and try to do something in your home later on and promise that you're going to do something. You are going to be done.
Yeah. It's like taking a horse tranquilizer after you soak in that salty water. You get back home and you're just like, okay, time for a nap. And so that's about all I've got for tonight, folks. I just wanted to encourage you again to like and subscribe to the podcast. Go to the Hot Zone with Chuck Holton. You can see, if you go watch the live that I did earlier tonight in Kiryat Shimona, you'll see that we actually were under the red alert. The sirens went off while I was live. We had to run and take cover. So that was a little exciting. And so I recommend that you go watch that. Again, that's on the Hot Zone with Chuck Holton. So check it out. And we will see you again tomorrow with a lot more coming. So take care. Bye-bye. How do I turn this off?